You may accuse me of being unduly mathematical. I'm not trying to be unduly mathematical.
I want to be wowed by your numbers.
No, it has nothing to do with numbers. But I asked you yesterday if there was any task force work. Obviously, there was a meeting yesterday on this subject, post Newtown. So, if it's possible to convey to the nation, after that meeting and in the intervening days since, proportionally, does the president view this as mostly a gun control issue, or 50-50 gun control, mental health, personal responsibility, and can you give the nation a sense that whatever he proposes, whenever he proposes it, will be inclusive of all of those things?
Well, okay, I think that's a good question, and I appreciate it. The president believes that there are multiple elements that need to be addressed that are part of the problem of gun violence. And as any expert on this subject, I think, would tell you, gun laws would not alone solve this problem, and he recognizes that. He would, however, support and has supported some gun control legislation, like the assault weapons ban, like closure of the gun show loophole. What the proportion is hard to say, but I think you break it down to issues of law enforcement, issues of, and then law enforcement can mean not just gun legislation, but other issues of law enforcement, obviously. Then background checks and the like. Then there's mental health and broader health care issues. There's education issues. I think those are three pockets. Whether that's 33, 33, 33 is hard to say, but it is simply a fact that legislation that addresses access to certain types of weapons or magazines or how we perform background checks, while they have merit and the president supports the ones that I've mentioned, would not alone address this problem. What I can't tell you, to go to the second part of your question, is what the rollout of the president's ideas, what form that will take, whether it will be things pieces of legislation that exist that he supports, and he has made that clear. I have also, or other things that might come up that he supports. I think at some point you'll hear from him more broadly on this issue, but I don't have a time frame for you on that. So this is a process that has just begun, and includes the meeting he had yesterday. But beyond that, I just don't have more for you.
All right, more mathematics. Based on briefings here and reaction from the Hill, there are some differences, but the revenue differences, which heretofore have been a significant impediment, are down to 1.2 trillion versus 1 trillion. And there are a lot of other issues, I acknowledge that. My question to you is, does the president believe there is an intrinsic larger value to resolving this during this week as the country mourns a larger national tragedy, and providing some evidence that all the rhetoric about the future of the children and everything else has actual meaning as related to our fiscal future?
I hesitate to make grand pronouncements about the connection that some of you have made between what happened in Connecticut and other work that is taking place here. I do think that the president...
But you know, and I know,
no,
on
I
the Hill
understand
here, that it reverberates.
It certainly does, and I think that it at its core, tragedies like that, at their core, bring us as Americans together in our grief and in our resolve and in our neighborliness. They remind us of all that we share as opposed to the differences that we have. And out of the ashes of a tragedy like that, as the president, I think, spoke to in Newtown, we should take heart from that. From the spirit of the community there, the spirit of communities that have been affected elsewhere. When first responders rush into a situation like that to try to save lives, nobody is thinking about political differences. So I think that any reminder of what binds us together is helpful and useful.
Has it catalyzed
as
this
we
process?
try to do the country's business here.
Would you
I
acknowledge
think the
it's
president
catalyzed the process?
Well, I just don't know, because I can't speak to everyone's motivations. I think that
For the president, has it catalyzed this process?
well, he has been committed to this process for a long time. He has been committed to seeking a broad deficit reduction deal, one that protects the middle class, one that achieves balance and is good for our economy. It is certainly, I think, the events in Connecticut are a reminder to him, as he spoke about in Newtown, of what's most important in our lives, what our greatest responsibilities are. And if, to the extent that that is a motivation to do more and do better for all of us, I think then that's worth recognizing.